Welcome to the Wisdom Trust. I'm Loren Crawford. This podcast is for gay men over 50 who sense there's more to this stage of life than we've been taught. More connection, meaning, honesty, and possibility. Each episode is a conversation with a thoughtful gay man who's navigating the deeper questions that often emerge in the second half of life. Aging, identity, purpose, belonging, reinvention, community, love, and living consciously. These are not conversations about decline. They're conversations about becoming. I'm glad you're here. So welcome back, everyone. We are here today with David Nathan. I'm so grateful for him participating in this from across the big pond. Before we dive in, just to remind you all that these are conversations that we're having with people from a whole range of lives, lived experience. These aren't about being celebrities, although David's a celebrity in his own right. These aren't about all of the influencers and stuff. We're real people having real conversations and affecting our sense of storytelling to transform. That's what this is all about. And ultimately building some community in terms of our Wisdom Trust program and community. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about David. So David describes himself as a multi-hyphenated creator working for many years in the world of soul music as a scribe and historian. He's an author of 3 books, the most recent of which is Through 7 Lives, A Reincarnational Journey. He's lived in London and was 34 years in America before returning to the UK in 2009. He's an openly gay single, wink, wink, a senior at 78 wonderful years. So welcome so much to our podcast, David. It's so great to have you here. And based on what we've just shared, I'd like you to go a little bit deeper. Tell us a little bit more about who you are. Who is David Nathan?
Who am I? Well, firstly, thank you for including me in the podcast. I'm very grateful to you for that and for the opportunity to share whatever I can that may make some difference somewhere with someone. Who am I? Wow. Do you want the abridged version? I guess you do. I mean, how you describe me is essentially how I would describe myself. I grew up in London. I was born in 1948. February 1948. I lived in London until 1975. Most of my early life was really became about music. It wasn't initially. I think that at some point I wanted to become a diplomat. And that was really based in the idea of being able to bring some kind of I could say peace to the world. I don't know where that came from. It wasn't anything in my family. This is something that I think I came in with, so to speak. And so that was many years I was thinking I was going to be a diplomat. And then the thing that really happened was music showed up. When I say showed up, I mean, like many of the people in my generation, I was quite taken with the Beatles and the Liverpudlian peeps. And, I was exposed to pop music. And then I think the turning point really was when I first started hearing what we would call rhythm and blues or R&B back then. And that became a very serious part of my, you could say my DNA in a way. And that began with 3 singers who are quite well known now. Dionne Warwick, as you call it in America, Warwick in England. Then Nina Simone, for whom I started an Appreciation Society fan club, and then Aretha Franklin. And I didn't think at that point, I was thinking I was have a career in music or as a journalist. And I like to think that a lot of my life has been organic, not planned. And so bottom line is I had a record shop. Then after the record shop, I became writing for a magazine, I should say, called Blues and Soul. And I loved writing. I found a real passion for. And at some point in 1975, I decided I wanted to go to New York. I'd been there once before to really make a career as a music journalist, so to speak. I did not know how that was going to go. And it was originally a 3-month trial period that ultimately ended up in 34 years. So this shows you how life can be organic. It doesn't always go. I've never, honestly, to be honest with you, Loren, I have never had many plans as such. I don't plan in the way that many other people do. And so that's the background in a sense. And then, I became known for my work. And I don't know if you'd say I was a celebrity, but I would say I was around a lot of celebrities. And I think the thing that really helped me a lot was my dedication to what I did. And I wasn't looking for scandal. I was looking for, I was finding out what made the people I interviewed tick. It was all about their music. I mean, that was the main thing. And I can say that really, in hindsight, what I discovered in the world of soul music as it became known was this kind of passion for the passion of soul music. So one thing I want to say up front is that I've never been a journalist in an intellectual sense. I've been it's always for me as lived. So the music I was listening to that moved me, it moved me. It wasn't like, oh, well, let me figure out who was on the record and why did the artist record. No, it's really about music as lived. And that has been the guiding principle through everything I've done. Because that's how I relate to the music itself. It's, the times growing up, to make it briefly, when I was the first going through my earliest relationship experiences, it was the music that got me through. It really is. And sometimes I think that if I didn't have music or soul music, I would have had a very different life. And so I think so it's really been the essence of what I do.
It sounds like the music has a real spiritual connection almost for you. Is that accurate?
That's true, and it's very true, Loren. And to say that one of the things I realized when I first started living in New York was how much gospel music, particularly the black gospel music of the church, was really at the foundation of what soul music was. And so you could say that yes, and I can not go into it right now, but I would say the first time I went to what I call a black church or a black gospel church, it was pretty intense, and it was, so yes, I think that has a lot to do with what's informed my love of the music. And as it hasn't been intellectual, I've danced to music, I've sung to music, I've done other things to music. So yes.
And you write your own music too, to a degree, right?
Yes. And just to say that if I really think about my first ambitions, so to speak, was singing. I love singing, and I still sing. I usually sing in my living room and occasionally sing for others, but not often. It's the singing, it's the expression of it. And I worked on, you mentioned about recording, because I recently did a little tabulation. Apparently I've recorded over 40, I've had over 40 recordings available to listen to. And it's it kind of almost happened, not without a plan. So yes, it's still one of the greatest loves I have in life is actually recording. I love recording. I love writing songs.
That's amazing. And you're like the anti-strategy guy. It's so great because, I've just been inundated with strategy. Try this strategy. You need this strategy to grow your business, blah, blah, blah. So I'm loving this sort of anti-strategy approach to life. Is there a particular lyric? Because I know I've read a few of your Substack posts, and you're very good at pulling out a lyric and sort of talking about it from a really heart-centered place. So I'm going to put you on the spot and say, is there a particular lyric or maybe an element of a song, either you could share with us the power of that lyric, one that just comes to mind, or you could sing it for us?
Wow, that is putting me on the spot. Well, wow. That is a challenging question, Loren. Not because I don't want to sing it. I probably could sing a couple of lines, but it's really what is there one? There's probably more than one. but it's funny what comes to mind. So I'll preface it by telling you a little bit about it, and then I might say a couple of lines for you and everyone. It's a song that was written by Curtis Mayfield, who is what I would consider to be one of the soul poets of life. He wrote so many great songs for many people and recorded himself as a solo artist. This song I first heard by the group Lads and the Pips. It was on a soundtrack for a movie called Claudine, and the lyrics of it are are in a sense simple, but they're also they require some comprehension. But there's some, and I did record the song in 2006 as in a very stark setting, just piano, saxophone, and me. So having said that, you should have warned me. I need to sing. That's that kind of husky. It might be a husky, but that's all right. All right. Add a little sugar, honeysuckle lamb, a great big expression of happiness. Boy, you couldn't miss with a dozen roses. Such would astound you. The joy of laughter around you. These are the makings of you. It is true, the makings of you.
There you go. That's beautiful. I love that. And tell me about those lyrics and how they speak to your heart.
Well, I mean, the song is called The Makings of You. It's just very poetic and the song feels very poetic to me. And I mean, I just think of some of the lines here, the joy of laughter surrounding you. You know, these are the makings of you, the essence of who you are. I mean, I am, people are. And so that's really the thing of it. And I mean, I could have picked so many different songs, but that one, that's the lyrics just, it's got more lyrics to it than that. Yeah, that's it. It's really simple. And I guess it really does speak to the essence of the makings of one, and in case the makings of me.
Nice. Yeah, and I think that's thank you for sharing that. You know, and what comes up first, so that song, those lyrics, when I put you on the spot, that's something we need to trust, right? That came up for a reason. The universe brought that forward for a reason. We're sharing this with others for a reason. And the simplicity message, just like the non-strategy message, is really powerful. We this thing here can get in our way of just making everything so complicated, right? So I think that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I haven't done, by the way, the last time I did what I just did, singing a cappella like that, was my birthday in February 2023 when I was in Los Angeles and I had a party and blah, blah, blah. And I just did it in the moment. No one asked me to sing. I just did it for everyone around there. I sang a little bit more of it then. So it really means something to me.
Well, thank you for honoring us with that. We're going to shift gears a little bit here. And I'm calling this part of the conversation the pivot. Now, this can be anything, a turning point that occurred in your life at some point after 50 or not, as the case may be, where something happened. It could have been a loss. It could have been a decision that was made. It could have been, a relationship, a realization, anything like that, that is a particular moment that had some impact or shifted somehow how you were being, David.
Yeah, I've given some thought after you represenced it that way for me. I would say that I think it was discovering, being really clear of what my purpose in life has been. And it really didn't happen like overnight. I think that as I start to mature, so I look back at my life from a different place, like, looking through the lens of time, you know, how has my life path been? What's it been about? And I'm almost prone to sing, but I'm not going to, the lyric from the song Alfie. What's it all about, Alfie? But yeah, what is life about? And then I started to look from a place of seeing there was a thread, and the thread was that how my life has been fulfilling what I came for, so to speak. I know that may sound a little lofty, and I have never had another career. I mean, I've done other things in life where I got paid to do different things at different times. I did work for people that wasn't specifically in the world of music or soul music, but that hasn't been very often. And most of my life's been about dedicating myself to to sharing about the music, particularly the music of a certain community in particular. Doesn't mean I don't like other kinds of music, but that's been the community which I wasn't born into in this lifetime. that I resonate with and have resonated with. So I think the pivot moment it wasn't that many years ago when it occurred to me that that's what my life's been about.
Mm-hmm.
And it has informed what I want to do for the rest of it.
I love that. And what a gift, right? So many of us, I've been a purpose coach for a long time, helping people to kind of delve in there. And again, there's these stories and these limitations. Now I call them the saboteurs that get in our way to prevent us from really connecting to that purpose.
Yeah.
What a gift that you were able to tap into it at a young age, and it's kind of been the commonality through your whole life, and you've been able to make a beautiful living from it. And
let me just say, whether it's been a beautiful living or not isn't necessarily true. And
beautiful isn't always bank account.
Yeah,
right?
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I love that. I love that. And so much so that, as I understand it, you've actually recoined who you identify as at this stage. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay, so there's what we call an origin moment when through my work, writing particularly for a magazine called Blues and Soul, which was a British magazine, as well as starting to write for other publications. And this would have been in 1993 when someone wrote an article about me for Blues and Soul, and they were celebrating my 15th anniversary, I think, writing in America. And during the course of that conversation, the person who interviewed me, was a friend of mine, said, well, what did you want to do before you started getting into music? And I said, well, I always wanted to be a diplomat. That was really what I wanted to do. And I said, it's kind of funny now. I said, I guess I have been like an ambassador in a sense. And he said, wow. And that is, I think he really coined the phrase, the British ambassador of soul.
Love it. Oh, I love that.
It was fine. I mean, I thought it was hilarious that in a funny kind of way, what I really always wanted to do was be an ambassador, someone who could make a difference and bring people together. And the music was the thing that was really the vehicle for that. So that was how that title came about. And of course, I was cognizant that there was a Queen of Soul, Aretha. There was a Godfather of Soul, James Brown. There was sometimes people call Otis Redding the King of Soul. And of course, there's Prince, who wasn't a Prince of Soul, but Prince. So I felt like I belonged in the royal court of soul. Beautiful. There you go. And so I used that for a long time as as a handle, or as a brand in a way that sometimes people laughed at it. I would say that when I came back to England, it was a little difficult, because how could you have a British ambassador of soul in Britain? And it worked in America. I don't know that it worked so much in England, because But that's a whole nother conversation about how people in Britain related to me when I came back, which was not so much fun. Anyway, recently, by virtue of doing some other work and coaching, yeah, I reinvented myself in a sense beyond the British ambassador of soul to being soul ambassador, because that allows for a lot more of what I can create, write about, that isn't just about music. So if that's what you're referring to, that's a recent reinvention.
Beautiful. I love that. And that kind of relates to the next theme. We're going to like just shift a little bit here. And so when you made that transition from, ambassador of soul to this new iteration, what did that free you from? What were you able to move away from in that transition?
Two things. It freed me from being confined in a way to having to do the thing, write about on my website and in my on my Substack, from having to be writing about music or being known only for that, and so there was a freedom to write about whatever I want, and because I've reclaimed my love of writing, and the reclaiming of it is not about let me say, so much of the writing I have done is about others. It's about interviewing people, talking about them, about their lives, their music, and so forth. And so now I feel like I can share about myself, my life, my stories, and there's a freedom in being able to do that as soul ambassador that wouldn't have been there so much as a British ambassador of soul. And so that's really where the freedom for me, the freedom is letting go of the limitations of a name that could keep me confined. And I also know that people in music for whom that's also been true. When you get called whatever you get called, Queen of Soul, whatever, it could also be confining. Now they may not feel it that way, but I see that it's fine. It outlived its usefulness, and now I feel like there's some freedom to really write about anything. And I started doing that in a sense on my Substack. I'm going to do much more of it. And also in light of the fact I have this book that you meant, the book that came out, as you mentioned, which is not, yes, it's about my soul, but it's not just about my soul. That's called a reincarnational journey. Should give people a hint. And there's so much in that I want to share about. And I feel like I can now do that. I've given myself permission, in a sense, to be free to write about reincarnation, the incarnations in there, just about life, and it feels great to do that. It really does. So that's where the freedom from and freedom to be fully expressive as a writer. And I want to say one more thing about that, because really, when I go back to my early life as a child, I remember we were, I was in primary school, and the English teacher, Mr. Edwards, gave us a little project, and he said, "I want you all to write a story, make up a story, just make one up." Now, okay, and in that moment, I can still see the story in the book, in my little exercise book, and it was about. I can remember what it was about. It was about this group of people on an island, and they were being chased by these monsters. I even did some illustration for it, and I don't know how it all turned out, but it was really, I guess, for a 9-year-old or 10-year-old, it was quite well written. And Mr. Edwards said, "David, this is really wonderful." And it was that validation, because I didn't realize, I had no idea that was, I did it because I did it because of the assignment, and then in a moment, I guess I discovered how much I love writing. And then the other thing that followed that was writing a love story, which caused a lot of upset amongst some of my family, and that was when I was about 11. So I guess I can say I'm owning my scribeness. How's that?
Yeah, it started young too. That's great. I related to your story about being 9. I remember
Yeah.
writing poetry in grade
Mm,
4. So that would have
mm.
been 9 years old as well. And my teacher reading it out to the classmates. And I don't I don't remember. It was probably like in the creative writing class or something.
Yeah.
And I remember her reading a few of them out and saying, you should become a poet. And I'm like, whatever. And I
Yeah.
never really followed up with that. But it's interesting now at this stage in my life, I have more of an interest in writing, like less in a professional context, which I did for 25 years in a corporate kind of role.
Yes.
And now that more expository kind of getting in there,
Yeah.
talking about, like you're saying, the stuff of, um, the soul and all of that.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
And I
Love
also
it.
have a lot of poems I've written that have never been shown. And,
Mm,
I mean, I've read the whole folder full. I mean, I wrote a lot of
right.
those in the 70s. And so, I mean, at some point when I have some time, I may be able to reclaim them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And so much of that artistic stuff ends up, in a drawer somewhere. And,
Oh,
and
yes.
the world needs more of it, right? We
Yeah.
don't need more strategies on blah, blah, blah. In my view, we
I
need
got
more
you.
creative kind of liberation, shall we say.
Yes. Liberation. Yes.
Find the Wisdom Trust on school.com/the-wisdom-trust/about. Website is wisdomtrust50.com. Find us on Substack, thewisdomtrust.substack.com. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/@thewisdomtrust50. See you on those platforms. So you've shifted, your focus a little bit, and now doing a little bit more reflective kind of stuff, if that's a good way of framing it. Writing about things that are outside of the music context, although I'm sure those threads are still woven through. So how are you kind of leveling up David at this stage of life? Like, what is it that is, the writing clearly is something that vibes you, but how else do you show up for yourself, for others at this beautiful stage?
Well, um, I'd say one of the challenges I have right now is because of my tenure, because I've been doing this for so long. I'll give you a direct example. I went to an event last night, a musical about a great singer called Shaka Khan.
Mhm.
And I had something to do with it because I wrote the notes in the program that people buy about her. And a couple of times last night, people were introducing me to other people, and they kept using the phrase legend. Now, I mean, honestly, how I show up for people, apparently for many people, is that way. And it's difficult for me to own it as such, because I feel like what I've been doing is just what I came to do. And it wasn't to be a legend or to be anything other than just, fulfilling what I came for. I'm challenged with that.
Mhm.
But I don't really know what else to say about it. I've spent a lot of today in the wake of those concepts. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay. And I go into a funny place. Well, okay, if I'm a legend, why does my bank account
not reflect that.
not reflect that? Now that's
Yeah.
my own stuff I've got to deal with, to be honest with
Right,
you.
right.
But here, let me say this. It's a good question, Loren, because I think what I think I'm experiencing now is being appreciated,
Mhm.
being acknowledged, um, and not just in music, but by others, in different fields. And it's so strange because I didn't plan it and I
Yeah,
didn't expect it,
yeah.
and I honestly, I'm sometimes uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. Can I share something with you?
Well, of course,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
please.
So my what's channeling through me, what I'm flowing right here with is we don't always have the words to appreciate others.
True.
So sometimes we're a little bit at a loss. And so with a lot of this stuff, especially in the English language, the words are very limiting or confining.
Mhm.
And I would encourage you, regardless of the word, if it's legend or whatever, just to accept that as a loving gesture of someone
Yes.
honoring
Yeah.
you in the fullest way. And what a gift that is,
Yes.
because of the beautiful work that you've done that clearly has spoken words, volumes to legions of followers and music followers, and you've helped them to
Mhm.
understand maybe a little bit more what
Mm.
they're experiencing. That even if the word legend doesn't resonate, or the concept of being held up to a certain level
Yeah.
doesn't resonate, I'm going to encourage you to own it.
Okay.
Um, because in owning that, in finding peace in your heart with that,
Mm.
that other part that you've referenced a couple of times already, your bank account doesn't reflect that. That will shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you owning the accolades that others are
Yeah.
giving you.
It-
So
yeah.
that's what I intuitively wanted
Yeah.
to share.
And I don't know. I mean, it's two things I want to say about it. First, I don't know. I don't know what my real discomfort with it is, other than I wasn't raised. I know it's to do with how I was raised, and many people in Britain are raised, and not so it's almost in the culture to not big up yourself.
Of course.
That's a very quote North American thing,
Yeah.
and I had to, yeah, and many of the people I was around in America, that's how they operated, and it's okay, but that was their modus operandi. It's not mine. Basically, it's not mine. So to be able to shift that, it takes something because I have to basically let go of all I was trained to do. So trained, but you could say um, not trained, but like that was how and
It's a
that's how it
program.
occurred. And
It's a
if you speak,
program
yeah,
around,
and
yeah,
if you hear, even if you hear other British celebrities, so a lot of times they will be kind of not self-deferential, but they'll be kind of like, okay, they
yeah,
don't. It's not like yes, of course, yes, oh thank you, I have somebody. It's not like that.
yeah.
So it is also cultural. I want to say
Of
that.
course,
Yeah.
100%.
And the other thing I want to say to you about what you just said, which really did resonate with me, is I'm reminded of one moment that I'll always remember. And it was a very special, precious moment in which I got to acknowledge, but not acknowledge in writing, but face to face and eye to eye, someone who's already no longer with us, but was had long been used to accolades. And I'll tell you who it was, and I'll tell you what happens. Very brief story. So, because I had a great, long-standing, you could say almost spiritual relationship with Aretha Franklin that went back to 1965, but 66 in terms of being in communication. I was a teenager in London. She had never been to England, blah, blah, blah. I won't go into the backstory, but I've written more about Aretha than probably anyone else. Thousands and thousands and thousands of words. I spent time in her company, and I would say she would consider us to have been friends. I'd use the word friends in a different context, but I accepted the kind of relationship we have. And I'll remember sitting opposite her. She had a party in Los Angeles, and a lot of people around. And for one moment, she was sitting by herself. And I used that opportunity to walk up to her and said, yeah, yeah. And I said, because I could say this in front of her, not to other people, I said, Aretha, I really want to thank you for all you've contributed to me as not just your music, but you've by virtue of giving me the opportunity to interview you and do so many things, you've given me a lot of my firsts in life. And she listened. And I said, so I really want to let you know how much that means to me. And then she said, well, she started to tear up.
Mhm.
She didn't get boo-hoo, but she was clearly moved by the expression. And she said, well, David, thank you. And I want to let you know how much I appreciate all you've done for me in your writing about me. And it was a moment, and then other people came. But in that one moment, I recognized how important acknowledgement is. It's
Yes.
so important. And
Yeah.
if you get the opportunity to do that with someone in that
Yeah.
way, like literally eye to eye, just
Beautiful.
in those few moments, I mean, it still resonates. I can still see the scene. So I say that to say that it is also about me accepting. I get it. It's about
Yes.
accepting that kind of acknowledgement also.
I'm going to give you some homework.
Oh, good. Oh, dear. Oh, no. I'm the worst student in the world. Oh, my God. No, no.
Call it love work. Call it self-love work.
All right. Then
Take that moment with Aretha and
Yes.
create from it, in her words, as best you can remember them, an aphorism, some kind of a statement, and say that to yourself at least 3 times every morning before you start your day. I would suggest that reprogramming some of that cultural conditioning around money and abundance, even at this stage in life, it's worthy of doing, because you are worthy of every accolade and every pound that flows into your bank account. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
one thing before we get further on from the homework. So an aphorism is it I'm familiar with the firm word. I haven't really used it much.
Just a short, pithy statement that encaptures that moment. And like you echoed back after you shared it, share those thoughts with others around your appreciation for them. But I want you to do this for yourself. Like you're sharing that reflection back to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Homework accepted.
Homework, and you can report back, and then
I'm sure.
part of what I want to do here is to report back on some of the tasks that others might be doing in previous episodes. So we'll do a little David update at some point.
All right.
So you are a fairly joy-filled man. I mean, you and I have had a few encounters where we're both followers of Lee Harris, who's a beautiful man in and of himself, and that's where you and I connected. And every time I see you, there's a beautiful smile, there's wonderful energy. So tell us about how at this stage in life you have fun. Like what is it that keeps that, we went from this up leveling a few moments ago, but brings you up in such a way that you get to shine. How do you have fun?
It's not going to sound how you think it's going to sound. You didn't have any preconception of what I'm going to say. Anyway, I guess it doesn't sound like fun, maybe to some people.
That's okay.
Okay. How I have fun is by allowing myself the opportunity to sleep longer, to watch Netflix, to almost embrace, to embrace my seniorness without any feelings of guilt.
Yes.
That's how I have fun. I don't know how it sounds to you, but that's one way I have fun. The other way I have fun, if there is a very specific thing I do when the weather cooperates, which doesn't always do in England, as you probably can imagine, is one of the things I have fun with doing is go, because I don't live too far from the River Thames. So on a sunny late afternoon, early evening, especially in the spring and summer, I will go and sit there at the river, benches and blah, blah, blah. And I sing out loud. I mean, I'm listening to, I have my earpiece in, and I'm listening to a piece of music, and I just sing out loud because I love singing in the air. I mean, I love singing outside in nature, and they don't do it for anyone to say anything. And yes, and sometimes there have been a couple of amazing moments when people I didn't know they were doing it because I was focused on singing. Nice. And there are particular instances of a couple of times when people were stopped and were listening. And in one particular case, I remember a woman with her daughter came. I didn't even see them. I looked at the corner of my eye, and when I finished the song, she said, "Thank you so much." She said, that was so wonderful for my daughter. She really, you have a great voice. You sound, and I guess it's in the realm of having, well, just to be able to do that.
Oh
So
God.
that's always had fun. That
Yeah.
was some fun.
And what
It
a
was fun
gift.
to do.
What a gift that is. Like
I know.
you sitting there singing, you don't know how many people are picking up on that and just the
Most
rippling
of them are not,
energy
but yeah,
of that. Because music is healing, music and sound. And I mean, that's why sound and mantra and all of that stuff is part of so many
yes,
spiritual traditions, hymns, like
yes,
because there's such a healing element. So what a gift you gave that woman and probably countless other people who have been listening
yes.
and you didn't even know. And on the Netflix front, from one hyperachiever to another, you didn't get to where you got without being a bit of a hyperachiever, right? Yes, have the grace of Netflix, have the grace of downtime, because we need that balance,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
We
yes, yes,
need the balance. It's
yes.
the yin and the yang, the doing
Yes.
and the surrendering.
Having
And
a balance,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Can I just say one thing? And when you were saying that about about singing, I have to confess that I do really love singing, and I've listened to some of my recordings recently. I'm like, well, they're good, and I realized that I haven't pursued it as a career, and I know why I didn't do that. Um, and what I can see now is there's nothing to stop me from now at this point in life sharing more of my music and making new music. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you why. There's no reason. Well, there probably is some reason I stopped, but yeah, I mean, and I'm reminded of the most important thing about anything to do with music or creativity. If you touch just one person, if someone is moved by one thing, then it's like you've done your job, or
You
whatever
did your
that job
job.
might be. So I'm encouraged by sharing with you about singing at the sea that I should, do more music.
Yeah, I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
and you can see
And I know this
I
guy
love it too.
who's creating a podcast that needs a little intro, outro, maybe a little
Yes,
lyric to
yes.
that.
Yeah, and the other thing to say, just very briefly, is one of the things I acknowledge is I have a very distinct speaking voice, and I don't use it enough
Mm,
in ways, you know what I mean? I know I don't sound like anyone else. And I also know that probably a lot of my, I'll say this like this, a lot of my fortune, so to speak, is
mm,
really using what I already have as it's a natural gift. It's naturally there. And to use it um, to make a difference. And yeah, and so I've done a series of just so you know, I've done a series of affirmations that I've been writing over the last 5 years. There's books of them, and recently I started to turn them into audio, like speaking them,
nice.
and that's one of the next things I want to really focus on is sharing the audio part along with the written part.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll be referring people to where they can find some of your stuff in a moment. But before we move there, I wanted to just sort of do a little reflection here
Yeah.
about the whole thing, the whole journey you've been on.
Yeah.
One of the beautiful things about this stage in life is the wisdom, right? And so we accumulate so much experience, knowledge. Some of it's not been easy. Some of it's been incredibly beautiful. Um, what would you like to share with those listening? Some words of insight, something that may help them in terms of their
Yeah.
own journeys,
Yeah.
and particularly around this idea of freedom, because we can be our own worst enemies in terms of caging ourselves into limiting beliefs and just like, this is who I am, and it's like, no, you can be so much bigger should you choose. So any words of wisdom
Yeah.
you would like to impart?
Yeah. Well, yes. I think, yes, it's to listen to your intuition about what it is you want to be doing. What do you want to be engaged? What do you love doing? Whether it's for work or just whatever you're doing for anything, work, pleasure. It's not about you have to find your purpose in life, That's good if you find it, but everyone isn't going to do that. I get that part. So it's really about listening to the inner voice and not listening to the other part of the voice. This is, well, why should you don't do that? Why are you doing that? That's silly. People are going to laugh at you. All that, don't listen to that.
Yeah, those are the
Don't listen to
saboteurs.
that, because that's always going to be there. There's
Yeah.
always, even like now, I mean, there's times oh, well, that kind of conversation in my head, which I know is really, to be honest, it's just a computer program going on and on, saying the same old stuff that could thwart anything I really want to do. So or what I feel to do. So I think the thing I would say is, even though we are not trained as human beings necessarily to listen to our intuition, it's always right. I could tell you the silliest example, but I don't know if we have time for that. But just it's a 2 minute. That's it, 2 minutes. You love it. Okay, good. So on Saturday, this past Saturday, I went to visit some friends of mine in Oxford. And it's not a place I go very often. My friend Shirley and her husband David. Oh, good, jolly good, all the way. So go to the train, blah, blah, blah. And I get to, this is so silly. Do you guys have something called Pret a Manger? Oh, it's a chain of food things, like fast food kind of things. But it's a little upmarkety then, rather than, isn't fries and stuff. It's like little snacky. Anyway, so I get to the station and I've got my ticket and I think, oh, okay, I've got some time. Let me just go buy something in the Pret a Manger. And then I go in the Pret a Manger and say, well, why are you doing that? You've already got snacks with you. That's what I say to myself. Oh, then I left the Pret a Manger, and 2 minutes later I went back. I said, well, why not? You could treat yourself. That voice that says, treat yourself. Yeah, why you do something for yourself? A little bar, like a little, food bar thing. I go in, I get the food bar, I come out, and then I start walking away, and I go to the platform. Where's my ticket? Oh my God. The bottom line is, I had left the ticket, the outbound part of the ticket, in the Pret a Manger. And when I went back, all they had was your receipt. So what's the lesson? What is it? I had to buy another ticket. So what is the lesson? The lesson is, if I listen to the voice saying, you really don't need to buy anything in Pret a Manger. And I heard the other voice say, oh, it can't hurt, And guess what? It hurt because I bought a ticket. So I'm saying it's simple as that. And if I just say to people, just listen to, trust that. Whatever that voice is, I don't even know how to describe it other than intuition. I mean, Loren, do you have a word for that voice? I don't know. What we call it?
I think
other voice.
That's it. A lot of the stuff we listen to is that negative chatter, right? And it's very reductive and very fear-based. And I think too, like a good example is when you're filling out the self-reflection questions. Oftentimes, the first thing that comes up is always going to be the right thing. But then we'll be like, oh no, it's actually blah, blah, blah. And then all this other chatter gets in the way. So what I always encourage, and this is a way that you can flex that muscle and tap into intuitive stuff, is when you're doing a questionnaire, first thing that comes up, right?
Write it down.
Because the rest is really the conditioned programming that's trying to steal the show, and it will, and this even comes back to the thing you were talking about, purpose. And if we can tap into some of the dreaming we did as kids, go back, especially at this stage in life when we're, we don't need to be as concerned about some of the, out there kind of the career and all of these other things. We can actually allow ourselves to dream a little bit differently and bigger. Remember what you did as kids and use that as an opportunity to plug into, oh, I really want to do that. I really want to try that, and explore, be curious, because absent that, that's when we start to kind of like, And in that you'll find purpose, and it might not be the big purpose, but purpose in terms of something that you can work on for now.
And it can be, I know we're talking about what I do and what you do and what people do, but really, if you think about, people can find their purpose as a farmer. They can find their purpose as a father. I mean, it isn't always
Yeah.
about the grand, what we think a purpose is.
Yeah.
And
Or it doesn't have to be related to career per se.
no,
It's how you're showing up
no.
in life, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And there are people who feel exceptionally fulfilled because they get up in the morning doing, even though it may not fit my idea, what they love, what people love, they love it. They do it. And it's about, I think it's really that we have really done a lot of damage in a sense
Yeah.
by saying
Well,
that purpose has to be some big thing.
totally. And I've probably been guilty of that at some point too. But I think what you just said is key to this, that you want to spring out of bed in the morning. Like something that makes you want to get up and be in
Yeah.
that day, not like face the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd also say that I know a lot of people do feel burdened by choices they've made.
Yeah.
They do, and and I don't have an answer for that, but yeah, they do. They feel trapped, and I don't think there's an answer,
Well,
but
the thing is, the
okay,
past is in the past. So all we can
yeah,
control is what's next. And control is
what's
probably
next?
too harsh of a word, but we can set, a path that's different rather than
Yes,
commiserating about the past, right?
that's true.
Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that wisdom. So tell us, David, I'm going to share your website information here. David's website is davidnathan, NATHAN.com.
Okay, yes, thank
Tell
you.
us what folks are going to find there.
Well, they're not going to. No, I was about to go naughty there. They're going to find. They're going to find some information about my history. They are going to find some of the pieces that are part of my that I put together over years, little vignettes of my journey in the world of soul music. They're also going to find some recent things I've been doing, which are like interviews I've been doing with a colleague of mine in America, Patrick. He's been doing some great interviewer with me. So it's called under the umbrella called Soul Talking. So they can get links to they can actually see those videos on there. What else do they find? They find links to my books, particularly the Soulful Divas, which as a openly gay man, I own the whole world of being of soulful divas. I actually came up with the term. I didn't know that no one used it before, and it is the title of a book, which I've done, and which seems to still have some resonance. So the Soulful Divas, then they find a link to the 3 through 7 lives. What else they find at the website? I think those are the main things. I'm still working on other elements of it, but those are the primary things they'll find.
And is there a link on there to your Substack? Because I know the writing.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
good.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
one
So
of
if
the
you
top
want
menu
to,
items says Substack. You
yeah,
click it, and
if
then
you
you can
want
read over.
to,
Yes.
indulge yourself in some of David's writing, it's beautiful. I recommend it.
Thank you.
Substack is a great way. And there's the Wisdom Trust Substack as well, by the way.
Yes.
To pop that up on the screen. Why not?
Yes, please do.
So the Substack address there for those of you, and feel free to comment and share.
Yes.
That's always helpful. And lastly, as well, for the Wisdom Trust, we have our YouTube channel. So excerpts from some of these interviews and other wonderful things will be there as well.
Good.
Yeah. So I really want to thank you for sharing this time with me and our listeners and viewers. I'm sure you've touched the hearts of many, many people. You are a beautiful man, and I want you to own your legendary status, or in whatever way is appropriate for you, because wow, you're worthy of it in so many ways. And it's been really beautiful getting to know you, and in this little window of your journey that I've been privy to, and I can't wait to see what's next.
I do have one other thing to say, because one thing I want to, because I always have a lot to say, but I want to make this concise. So one of the things that's been important to me in sharing my life story so much, so to speak, particularly through Substack, is there are, I don't want, yes, legend is lovely and that's all lovely. I'm not going to dismiss it. I have not led the life of a monk. I paused purposely. And when I start to share more about my life journey, and particularly in living in Los Angeles, there are some not scandalous, but there's some elements of my life that will have people go, "What?" Yeah, and that's
I can't
yes,
wait.
I know.
Yeah.
And it has, of course, it has to do with me being a gay man. No, it had to be, but it's about being a gay man, and it's not been like. And now I look back, I think, what? And I don't go what like that, but that's interesting. and so I always want to let people know that it's a whole person. It's not like, oh, he was a writer and didn't anything else. Believe me. And I've done some other things that are kind of interesting. Like I sang in a choir in Los Angeles, a primarily gay choir of primarily African Americans, and I was an honorary Caucasian. And I remember, being in the choir and going out of the room and swishing my robe, and in the true style of a diva.
Nice. Well, we look forward to hearing more of those stories as you prolifically share them with us. Again, thank you so much, David. It's been a real treat.
Well, thank you, Loren. I really deeply appreciate the opportunity to speak and to really, and thank you for what you're doing. I mean, it's really, really important. And I'm thankful that we connected. And, it's about, it's time to, it's time for all of us to shine.
Yeah. Especially in these dark times. All right. Thank you.
All right. Very good.
Thank you to our guests today, and thank you for listening. If what you heard landed with you, if you felt seen, heard, inspired to make a shift, I want to hear about it. Get back to me on one of our platforms or where you're listening to or seeing this. And if you know another man over 50 who you think would benefit from hearing this, share it with them, please. This community grows when we show up for each other. You can find more essays on these topics, reflections and such at our Substack account. Watch for other content on our YouTube channel, and stay connected to us through our school platform. This is where we engage and are building our community. Remember, the second half of life isn't the beginning of the end. For many of us, it's the moment life finally begins to open up. You're not alone in this. We're in it together. I'll see you next time on The Wisdom Trust.